announce that I have received 2 apologies for today, 3 in fact, because the third one is a standing apology. I have received an apology from Honorable Mutsipe and Honorable Kebekulu and the Honorable Minister Gungubele. He made us aware that it would be very difficult for him to attend the portfolio committee meetings on Wednesday, because that coincides with the cabinet meeting. And we didn't have a problem with that as long as the deputy minister is in attendance, and she is in attendance even today in this meeting. And before I go further in my opening, I want also to introduce to the committee a new member, Dr. Janine North Nigel, who is joining us for the first time as a new member, representing the African National Congress, of course. Doctor, special welcome to you. Can you switch on your video so that the members would see you?
Good morning. Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Good morning, and thank you very much for the welcoming to this committee meeting this morning. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Members, in our last engagement in November 2020 concerning the Presidential Hotline, the department had made mention that it is in the process of modernizing the Presidential Hotline. We have decided to invite the department to give us an update regarding the modernization of the Presidential Hotline. Again, on the 26th May 2021, the committee had invited 3 provincial governments on the non-compliance with the policy on the performance and management and development system, meaning this agenda item will always be on the committee program since departments are not adhering to the policy on the performance management and development systems. We will also be appraised by Brand South Africa on the programs initiated in 2022 to market and attract investors to South Africa. With those few words, let me allow the Deputy Minister to provide her opening remarks, and thereafter the presenters will lead with the presentation. I now invite the Deputy Minister in the Presidency. Thank you, honorable members.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and good morning to all honorable members here present, and let me also join you, Chair, in welcoming the new member, honorable member of the committee. Chair, it is true that this morning we're doing 3 presentations as DPME. We're going to start, of course, with the Presidential Hotline. And just on the Presidential Hotline, Chair, flowing from our discussion that you have just outlined, the Presidential Hotline was an initiative that started and implemented since 2009. And it was earmarked to make citizens or to provide citizens with an opportunity to raise their complaints and challenges that confront them in their localities, and also be able to help government in a way to pick up early warning systems on issues that communities are identifying. And then through that process, we be able to direct some of those issues and make line departments, whether national, provincial, or local, to attend to some of those things. And we also are mindful, Chair, of the concerns that members of the Portfolio Committee also raised during the budget debates, specifically on the Presidential Hotline, because of the amount of traction that it is getting, but also the turnaround time on how we respond on issues that are raised through this platform. And we also want to make the Portfolio Committee aware that during the presentation this morning, we'll also share with you the diagnostic report that was done by CSIR to look at how best can we turn around the Presidential Hotline, but also having looked at the current realities and the challenges that our government is faced with, whether you talk floods now or aging infrastructure, or how the three spheres of government are able to respond to some of the community concerns. It clearly shows that our approach of centralizing the Presidential Hotline and looking at the CSIR report may also want us to relook at how we can look at some of these things, re-engineer the approach, but also possibilities of decentralizing. It's something that we are also looking at, but members will also be, or the DDG who's responsible also share with the members on how we think aligning this with the district development model, how that can also help us to really improve on our response as three spheres of government to communities in as far as issues that they're raising on service delivery are concerned. And allow me, Chair, to invite Mr. Henk with his team to present to the Portfolio Committee on the Presidential Hotline. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable DM. Is that Mr. Nkuna who's going to come in now?
Chair, good morning. The presentation is going to be led by Mr. Henk. I'm Robert Nkuna, but I'll ask, as DM has already indicated, that Mr. Henk leads the presentation, and I'll join in the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, DM, and thank you, honorable chairperson and honorable members, and thanks to my DG for the opportunity to present to yourself. I just want to check that you can see the presentation and obviously hear me as well. Am I audible and presentation visible?
And can you raise your voice a little bit? I can hear you, but I suspect that others may not hear you. Just a little bit increase the volume.
I'll do my best, Chair. Thanks. Okay, so honorable members and Chair, again, thanks for the opportunity. So I'll just want to share to say what do we see as the purpose of the hotline, what's the vision, where we want to go with the hotline, and give you a sense of what's the current status, what's the challenges that we're encountering, as well as what's the plans going forward. And then we just thought we'll give you a very, very high level glimpse of what is the current sort of the Q4 performance in the hotline like. So yes, the hotline is the system that we is, like I said, to provide the vision to the Portfolio Committee on where we're going with this. So in the founding objectives of the hotline, it was stated that we should look at the participation, to deepen the participatory democracy, and that we need to be in touch with the people, as well as we are saying to work towards creating the trust and strengthening the trust relationship between us and the public. The hotline will definitely contribute towards that, and that people do feel they are firstly can voice their concerns, their compliments, and that to us as government, and then they need to be felt heard, and that we actually are hearing them. It's also about sort of entrenching the Batupele principles around service delivery and those things, and to remove complacency, cynicism, and excuses to deliver services to the public, and that we also make real the fundamental rights of all South Africans to express, and in the Bill of Rights we talk about the basic services that they are entitled to, and then again, like I said, that we have a listening, caring, and working government in place. So for us, the vision where we want the hotline to be at is a apex system, and I think as the DM was saying, it's about that we don't see the hotline being a system where all the complaints and that comes to, but the hotline is more the system if people don't necessarily have a find resolution at the local or the provincial or the sector, whichever hotlines, that those then would then be escalated to the presidential hotline, as well as that we also aim to be able to have a overall sense of what is the issues and cases coming through or on other hotlines within the public service. So yes, we need it to be very responsive. Again, that's the whole sort of feedback loops and all of that to our citizens. It needs to also be attuned to technology, and you'll see later in the slides, we do know, and I know the committee is also aware that you know, predominantly our call center works on telephone calls. We've got limited hours, but we know that citizens have moved on. People are using technology widely, and that it's got to be citizen orientated, it's got to be agile. Whereas DM was also talking about the disaster challenges and all of those that we can cater for as things happen and come along. We want rapid response, and again, for us, the response is crucial for the trust, enhancing the trust relationship in those going forward. So I think, like I was saying, we now are working on creating a system that's got multiple entry points, using all different technologies, as well as looking at social media. So in the social media discussions going on, you know, we all have the ability to start identifying some issues proactively and not have to wait for somebody to register on call centers and those type of things. So we definitely want multiple entry points for citizens to engage with us. We're also then saying we need to manage the information that we are collecting much better and give us analytical capabilities. And again, I think the first point is then saying not just rely on the data we're getting via the hotline, but the presidential hotline, but also look at other call centers and case management systems that's around out there, but also then enhance our intelligence through other sort of data sources. So we've got Stats South Africa, we've got municipal IQs, we've got lots of institutions that are generating lots of data for us to be able to work on. And then also we're saying we have to start sort of doing some comprehensive analysis as well as predictive analysis, where we can start sort of highlighting more emerging trends and definitely serve much more as a early warning system. Then again, it's the whole effective efficiency around our case resolutions. So we are setting a benchmark of 25 days in turnaround time for resolutions. And maybe on that point, what we're also saying is that we are not necessarily, so let's say in the case of somebody having water, an area not having water, but let's say the solution for that is that we have to build a dam to be able to provide water to that specific region, or set up piping or stuff. And we know that some of these things do take quite a while to deliver. So we're not saying we should not measure the call center on when the actual case is or service is provided. So maybe the building of the dam will take 2-3 years or whatever, but at least we need to give feedback to citizens to say, yes, this is the plans, this is what we're doing, and this is how we're going to manage your water provisioning in the meantime. But let's say having piped water would take some time. So the 25 days would then be counting and saying, at least still, how long did we at least give feedback to the citizens over on that and that. So we actively starting to monitor the responses against the 25 days. So again, I said we want to be an early warning system for management and for everyone to also start seeing the value of a call center in there, because that would highlight for us the emerging trends, the emerging issues as we go along. And yes. And then also the whole sort of feedback. So I think what we're also working on and envisaging is that we start sort of communicating, in a sense, a bit more proactive as well, to then just communicate what has been the trend in cases in the hotline, and then what have we done, what is the answers or the resolutions of those cases like, so that we can then also preempt some of the cases coming in as we go along. So this is just a picture of the current system, and like I said, it's predominantly based on phone calls that we're receiving. We lately haven't been getting much through the postal services, the post coming through. Faxes is also sort of died down. And then it's emails that we're getting from the president's email, president@po.gov.za. I'll say up front, we still have problems in integrating the emails into our call center management system, and those are issues that we would try and sort of go forward and fix. So I'll explain to the members all the procedures behind it. So we have and this is just again summarizing what I've already said in the previous slide. So currently we have 30 call agents, and they are based at CETA. CETA is actually providing us the call center service. We have 2 shifts, so there's 15 on each shift, and the hours is then from 6 o'clock till 10 o'clock in the evening. So yes, we are not providing a 24/7 service. And then we have 18 DPME staff members, which is situated in the situated in the union buildings, and they do the back office support and they do the case management. So they the guys looking after getting case resolutions done, in communicating with departments and that to take that forward. And yes, and then we have national departments, provinces, and even local government, and even in the entities, we have what we call PLOs, the public liaison officers, that we use as our contact points in those institutions, and to refer the cases to, and then get feedback from the cases. So, and currently we have a Khawuleza app, which has been designed and has been tested and not currently integrated into the system, but we have done work on how we can now integrate the Khawuleza app. So you'll see that we will now roll out the Khawuleza app to the whole of the public or the whole of the country to enhance, to give another avenue for us to be able to get calls in. So this is just a little bit of what the Khawuleza app looks about. So we have an application, so people can download the application. So we do propose that going forward in the Mbizos that will be held going forward, we will then give people access to data as part of the Mbizo, and then so people can download the app, and then they can utilize the app to speak to us. But we also now have set up a system where people can talk to us via USSD, but in simple sort of WhatsApp messages and messages to speak to us. So where people cannot download the app, they can speak to us. So we will now in the next quarter start actively rolling out the application for this. So I think, yes, I think I've sort of spoken about the Khawuleza app and how we will go forward. And then just saying, once we've rolled out all these different applications, avenues for the citizens to communicate with us too, and we back to them, we will then have a communication campaign to make everybody aware and resensitize the whole all these applications and ways for people to talk to us. So I think, as the DM has mentioned, we did also get some assessments by the CSR, and that they also developed for us some prototypes on doing analytics and going forward. So their recommendations was also that yes, we can save some costs from doing the current one. And then also that we should integrate with our GIS, the geographical information systems, and that we should use much more of the web and the modern technologies to be able to assist us. And then the point that I was also making, that we should start interfacing, or at least getting the reports and data from the other call centers, and that we should have a 24/7 avenues for citizens to speak to us. So there are some of our challenges, and then some of the mitigations, how we think going forward we should address this. So we have a low resolution rates, and I think the chair also did mention in the opening about our resolution rates of cases. So what we started doing is then to have more regular reports to some of the governance structures, and then we will for this year start publishing those resolution data, able to get us to have better resolution rates. But we're also saying we should prove to management as well the benefits of utilizing the hotlines and responding to those cases. So we think if we can enhance the awareness and like I said, the people understanding what value the hotlines can have in it, we do foresee that the resolution rates would increase as well. So again, the other one is this underutilization of the hotline. So you'll see in the later slides that we're not getting a huge amount of calls coming through anymore. And so we're saying if we get the 24/7 service, if we are getting more avenues for citizens to be able to access us, as well as the communication campaigns and those things, and also again, if we seeing that the resolution rate improves, then citizens would tend to be more willing to use the system as well. So we're seeing all of these things together would definitely improve the utilization rates as well. Again, I think we also did indicate that we're not using the information that we're collecting effectively. So yes, I think also based on some of the guidance we got from CSR, we're now sort of enhancing the reporting and analysis from all of those systems. And then also the other thing that we've identified is we're not proactively trying to address some of our calls coming through. So typically you'll see also in a later slide, there's information or there's cases registered that are just merely asking for information. And it's asking for information, how do I access a certain service? How do I access a certain grant or something? So what we are now starting to do is to then proactively communicate to let's say, the relevant departments and saying it does seem that people are not aware of how to access your service. And then we hope to then strengthen their communication campaigns and provisioning of information going forward. So I think that is the challenges that we've experiencing and sort of the way forward in this. This is just a very high level sort of project plan, how we're going forward. So the reporting, like I said, have sort of are starting to commence in this quarter that we're in. We're also going to roll out the Khawuleza app in the next quarter, and then we have developed terms of references for procuring, or at least testing the market to see what is available. How can we provide the service at the most cost-effective way going forward? And I think the results, the appointment of service providers will then take place in the fourth quarter, but we've already commenced that process to identify service providers and ways of providing the service better. We also have started working on the back office, the PLO forums, so we now regularly assessing those departments or institutions that are not responding adequately, and then having sessions with them. So again, I think what we were saying is if we've in the first 3 quarters of this year, we'll redesign the whole sort of hotline system, and then in the last quarter we will go out in a whole communication campaign on how to roll out or how to relaunch the hotline, and then those will be in the fourth quarter. So this is just a little bit more detail on the project plan. So I think what we're saying is we also will endeavor to build a system that is seamless, automated, because we are seeing that a lot of time is taken up in these manual management of these cases and those things going forward. Also, yes, we're also looking at the single view, where at least from the hotline, presidential hotline, we have the ability to consolidate all these different call centers coming through and have a holistic view of trends and issues within the broader public service. Also looking at some media tracking to also start learning from those going forward. The citizens' requests must be simple and I did talk about the different ways. Correspondence center, where we deal with citizens' requests, as well as communicating proactively back to citizens. And also we're still unfortunately getting lots of what we call junk or drop calls, where the calls to the call center are not real cases. Also where we check the quality of responses as well. And then, as I said, the business intelligence system that we do establish and really justify the cost that we incur in collecting this data and going forward. So, like I said, we're doing weekly reports and engagements, and then we would communicate to those institutions that are not communicating or doing the resolutions, and then the non-responsiveness. We are doing some customer satisfaction so we do surveys the citizens that registered calls, but I think we're also saying we should enhance that much more, and then have service level agreements. So we're saying by end of July, end of June, we'll have service level agreements, MOUs in place with the rest of the public service to formalize these relationships. And then they also expand our PLO forum. So those are the things we're currently working on. So this is just, like I said, just a quick scan on what's coming through in the last quarter. So that's 1 January to 31st of March. And that. So if we look at the national departments, again, as probably expected, a majority of the calls we're getting in is from social development. Then it's about birth registrations and those things, because Again, social development is probably the major service that's provided by national departments. Then if we look at provinces, there's as a place to live, and then it's about water. Water provisioning is the second biggest, and again, there's the one what we call information from government. So it's mostly about people trying to understand and say, how do I access certain services and those things going forward. So these are the breakdown of the calls coming through that. So if we then drill down into this place to live, the types of cases calls we're getting is around the RDP houses, how to apply for the houses, the quality of the RDP houses, the whole deeds registration issues on how we're registering those deeds, which is linked to the ownership as well, and then some land issues in land issues related to housing, provisioning of land and those things for housing, and then the housing subsidy. So we thought we will just share that as well with the committee. This just shows us the calls coming through per province. So you'll see that Gauteng is getting the majority of the biggest share of the calls coming through, and you will see that the resolution rate is unfortunately not is 36%. So it's probably definitely can improve that going forward. So and then so this is just again showing the high levels of calls coming through. So I think we have looked at the disaster one, so we probably will expect, and we've seen that KZN's numbers are increasing from April going forward, as to be expected, and so we have the Northern Cape, which is our best performing province, with 100%, but you will notice they only received 9 calls, so it's probably much easier to address those calls. And these are just some of the national department's numbers, and again resolution by sort of the high resolution rates. But I think, as you notice, the numbers of calls are actually not what it should be. I think we would expect much better numbers of calls coming through once we've sorted out these technology and these issues going forward. So, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members and Deputy Minister and DGs, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Can we get the next presentation? Is that Brand SA?
No, Chair, it's still a DPME on the
It's still
performance of
DPME,
the
okay.
Yes, and Mr. Yang will also deliver that presentation.
Okay.
Just a few comments on this one, Chair, while Mr. Henk is looking in. I think on the issue, on the status report on performance agreements and the filling of DG annual assessments, I think, of course, there's great improvement. That's what we can say. But also, coupled with that are the challenges. Because one of the things we've put up, remember, we're doing this function to support the office of the Premier, of the President, so as DPME. So one of the biggest challenge is how the performance agreements are structured, most of them not meeting the requirements, some not being submitted on time. And the other biggest challenge has been agreements not being signed by both the HOD or the DG and the executive authority. And the other biggest issue has been that the agreements are not performance driven. So that's why as DPME, we have now come up with an approach, a new approach where we change the drafting and the structure of this performance agreement so that they become results driven, so that the performance also includes how the DG is able to provide or focus on strategic leadership of the department, but also ensuring that between the executive authority and the DG, the key outcomes have to be clearly spelled out and be achieved. Because what we have also seen lacking is the issue for consequence management and how many of our DGs on this thing defaulting and departments performing poorly, but no consequences on some of these things. And that in itself brings a challenge on the quality of service that we deliver and other related issues. So that's why we now are looking at it differently and put in the issue of performance. But one of the things that I would like also the portfolio committee, and I'm alive to it, that today we're not looking at vacancies, but we have been sitting with national departments that are not filling DG's positions for over 3-4 years. And these are some of the things that if we're saying capacity of the state to deliver, it's priority number one in the MTSF. What are we saying when DG's positions are not filled? And it's not that DPME does not engage those ministers, but I think we really have to, it can't be business as usual. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks again, DM, and thanks again, Honourable Chairperson and members for this one. So as DM saying, we will give some sense of the performance agreements and the annual assessment process for 2020 and 2021 financial year. So again, I think just as a reminder to say the system, we started it in 2018, and at DPME, we support the presidency in implementation of the performance management for PMDS system for the national DGs, and then the Office of the Premier, they're responsible for the heads of departments in there. Then the Public Service Commission is then driving is responsible for the evaluations for the 9 provincial DGs as well as the DG in the presidency, and the OTPs, again, the Office of Premiers, they perform that function for provincial DGs. And then just to say, we've recently deployed a system where we are trying to and ensuring that we get more effective and efficient in capturing those agreements and then subsequently doing the assessments of that going forward. We've also come up with guidelines and videos and stuff to assist people with how to do it going forward. So just to also remind the members that the due date for submissions of performance agreements is 30 April of each year. If it's an election year, then we do it 3 months after the election to obviously give the new cabinet, new government of the day a chance to set up agreements with the EAs. But being this year is not an election year. So the date was 30 April. Maybe I should also just highlight and note, ask people to please note that we, the DGs, the departments that cannot conclude the agreements for whatever reasons by 30 April, still have 30 days to request condonation from the Minister for Public Service and Administration. And then that date was yesterday was the last date for them to request condonation. So you will see that these numbers that we're giving probably will still change in the future. So I would just apologize for that. Our numbers are still fluid at the moment. But I do think it will be good for us once we've gotten a final indication from the Minister for Public Service and Admin on what the condemnations, who was provided condemnation, and then track whether they've adhered to those dates. We will provide the committee with those updated numbers as we go forward. So in previous years, there was extensions given to the date, but this year there was no extension given for performance agreements this year. And again, to remind you that in the case of a newly appointed DG, they have 3 months since the date of appointment to conclude an agreement. And also maybe to also mention that in the case of acting, where people are acting as DGs and HODs, they do not they don't comply to the this performance management system, but they are dealt through the senior management performance management system. So their agreements and everything is concluded through that system. So this is just the status of our compliance, and like I said, it's the submission date was 30 April, and so some of these numbers are still changing as we go along. But currently we have in the public service 22% of DGs and HODs acting, and I think as the Deputy Minister was saying, we are finding that that's quite a few of these are quite extended periods of acting. So we would agree and think that we should start sort of looking at the number of people acting, as well as the period it takes for how long they are acting. So we have seven newly appointed HODs and DGs that didn't have to comply to the April date. And then we have about 32% of our DGs, HODs did not submit the agreements. And then we had about a 12% of DGs that submitted late, and HODs as well. So we had a 56% submitted on time. And then, so if we look at compliance late and submitted, we're probably sitting at a 68% compliance rate in there. And then, but like I said, those ones will probably still change as we factor in the condonation. So some of the ones that have missed the late submission day or submitted after April might have received condonation from the MPSA. So like I said, that's and as Deputy Minister was saying, we have about eight of them that have not been signed by both the accounting officer as well as the executive authority. So yeah, so in total we have then 111 HODs, DGs that were meant to comply or submit the agreements, and yeah, so that gives a breakdown of the performance. So again, this is just again I think repeating that we had 62 DGs HOD that submitted on time. 13 of them were late, and then 35 we haven't received any agreements from them. So again, I think as the Deputy Minister was also talking about the consequence management, just to highlight that we report to the MPSA on performance, on the compliance and that to these factors on an annual basis. Apologies. And then the HODs that do not meet any of the submission dates and the requirements of the system, they do forfeit their notch increases or any benefit that comes out of the system. And just to also note that the conclusion of the performance agreements is part of the ministerial performance agreements as well. So I think if we just do some reflection, and again, I think I would probably just spend some time on our challenges. And I think that as DM was also saying, we still have some challenges and a way to go in the performance, the quality of our performance assessments, our performance agreements, and then the impact that these performance agreements have on actually the performance and the delivery of the public service. So I think maybe up front, I will also state that we as DPME and DPSA is planning on some workshops and some engagements, and then developing sort of the revised performance management system. So it's been in place, like I said earlier, we started in 2018. So we've completed a few cycles, and we think it's the opportune time for us to go forward and see how can we make this system more results-based, more going forward in this. But then also what we do is once we receive the performance agreements, we go through a quality assurance process and then give feedback to the relevant minister and DG to then be able to come up with how do we enhance the quality of the agreement. So yeah, so we're seeing it's very compliance driven, it's very output driven. Still at the moment, and just to also remind honourable members that the current agreement, 40% of the agreement reflects on what is the DG's personal contribution towards achieving the results of the department they lead. So we have a section that deals with the 20% of the weight of the score comes out of the APP, the Annual Performance Plan achievements. And what we then are requiring them is to, in their employee contribution, they would then factor in and say, how will I enable and ensure the department to deliver on those APP targets? But we are seeing that some of them are still sort of just repeating the APP targets in their individual contribution, and we also are, so the guidelines are saying they need to look at the score management competencies on how they are applying like change management, strategic leadership, all of those things into into the process to deliver that. So it's an area we're still sort of looking at that. We're still working on strengthening the alignment with the NTSF, the State of the Nation, and all of those plans going forward. And then we've picked up in the past, so we're just in the process of giving feedback. So now we'll make sure that those agreements are amended to give us quality agreements going forward. But like I said, we also, together with DPSA as the policy owners, are embarking on a process on how do we strengthen and refine our policy going forward. So this is, if we look at the previous year's assessments, just to indicate for the 18, 19, 19, 20 assessments, we've received, got condemnation from the Minister of Public Service and Administration for us to finalize those backlog assessments, and that has been done, and we're about to communicate the results to ministers and DGs on those previous assessments. So just, I think for the 1920, we received 15 assessments from the 29 sort of DGs. But I think the committee can also note that a lot of the ministers, DGs, have left in that time, and they then chose not to be assessed in that. So again, we've assessed that and given recommendations through. And then for the 2020-21 assessment cycle, we've received 16 assessments, and again, this is just for the national DGs, and we are sort of in the process of finalizing those assessments via the evaluation panels going forward. So in conclusion, it's then just we do think we and Deputy Minister also talked about the consequence management. How do we strengthen and ensure that we can improve compliance, but ultimately how do we make sure this PMDS gives us improved services, performance of the public service. And I think we're saying the acting and subsequent, the vacancy rates and the period of that is still a matter that we are concerned about. And we're saying our online system has helped us to do this tracking and hopefully the assessments much more effectively. And I think that's the last one. Thank you, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members.
Thank you. Can we right away get the Stats SA? I'm doing this because we have a house sitting at 2, so that we may discuss all these reports together.
Brand SA, Chair, not Stats SA.
It was a slip of the tongue, DM. Is Brand SA, not Stats SA?
Yeah, the Chair and
slip of the tongue.
I hear. Yeah, it's those initiatives that the Portfolio Committee also asked for. Of course, whether we're able to reclaim our glory as South Africa, given the challenges that confronted us, the negative credit, the July mayhem, the gender-based violence matters and other things, because that also have unintended consequences. But Brand SA is coming with a program to focus on its messaging and reimagining our country as a preferred destination. So the Chair is here with us. She's going to take us through.
Thank you, DM, for setting the scene. Good morning, Honorable Chairperson and members. Brand SA is here with the acting CEO, our CMO, Togomudise, our CFO, and all other team members are here. And thanks for the opportunity to make such an important presentation, which is about our day-to-day activities as Brand South Africa.
Yeah.
Chair, you'll remember in the recent past, we tabled
Why never submit?
DM.
Why never submit?
Chair, somebody must alert the DM that she has forgotten to switch off her microphone.
DM, we can hear everything you are doing there on the side. Can you mute?
May I proceed, Chair?
Yes, we can proceed. I'm trying to stop them from interfering with your presentation. You can proceed.
Thanks, Chair. As I was saying, that in the recent past, you have tabled our annual performance plan for the current fiscal year as it was approved by our minister, and subsequent to that, tabled here in the portfolio committee. This APP is a set of programs that will enhance our competitiveness in relation to packaging messages on behalf of Team South Africa the world over. It is through this program that South Africa will be able to attract investment. It is through this program that South Africa will be able to build a cohesive society. And it is through this program that will interface with our sister countries in the African continent through the Free Africa Trade Agreement. Since we have even met the SG, His Excellency Mr. Wamkele Mene earlier, to try and table a specific relationship we'll have between South Africa and other African countries. And this brings the global audience to the attention of the South African narrative. And of the recent past, we were able, DM, as you outlined, was able to attend the expo in Dubai, where we were narrating the South African story to get the attention of South Africa. And in that expo, we were able to attract the UAE, China, and many other important players to come to our pavilion. So did we do the same at the mining Indaba, which took place a few weeks ago, where we were allowed to set the scene as Brand South Africa, where we hosted a reception, where we had very important dignitaries from different countries, including presidents of countries. We do have AVs that can prove that we were able to, even at the South African pavilion, attract those important investors who came to look at what South Africa can produce in the mining sector. And we were able to amplify the policy imperative of a just transition in the mining sector through many interviews that we held and explained the policy framework that South Africa is taking forward in terms of investment in the mining industry, because the mining industry contributes 47% of South African exports. So mining, it's seen as a sunrise industry, not a sunset industry, as explained eloquently by Minister Mantashe. So it is through Brand South Africa that we are able to interface with investors. If we are allowed even more space to do that, we can always do better to be able to explain what we are able to do. But these activities, and I'm saying this because earlier this morning, I got a conversation from the acting CEO where actually DICO want us to go and make presentations about our relationship with other countries. Brand South Africa is gaining traction on a day-to-day basis because of the work it's doing. So we'll continue to support the president's investment drive. At the foundation of this is supporting economic recovery in the reconstruction plan. That's what we're doing. Like I earlier said, it's also about international work. Now we are going to look at Asia as the largest economy. We are going to make sure that South Africa is a player and continue to play an important role there. So Brand South Africa will have meet forces like your African Union and look at all other roles that South Africa has played through peace missions to ensure that the SG of AFCITA is able to understand our message. So our message is crystal clear in terms of investment opportunities that are found here. And I'm going to request you, Chair, to allow our head of communications, Mr. Gumdis, to take us through our marketing activities to try and show how we are aligned to the work of government and what we do on a day-to-day. Through your permission, Chair, please allow Mr. Gumdis to take us through this presentation. Thank you very much.
That's fine.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to both chairs. Good morning, honorable members. As the chair has already mentioned, we were asked to showcase planned activities for the financial year 2022-2023 that enable the country to attract investment as our contribution as Brand South Africa towards supporting the presidential investment drive. Is it moving?
Not yet moving.
Not moving. I'm not sure why it's not moving. Anyway, this presentation will take you through the context of that informs what we do, why we do it, where we do it, and how we do it, as well as to answer the question to what end. Steph, please, can you assist? Because I'm not sure why it's stuck. You were saying?
Is Tutu also there? Tutu should also help if she's there.
Is she here? I don't think she's here. Let me carry on. Can I stop sharing and you can continue to share still?
You can continue even if it is not moving. I think
right.
we have your presentation.
All right.
Hard
All right.
copies.
Okay. So the presentation, as I mentioned, will take you through the context. It will also take you through what our communication strategy is about and how that translates to actual activities. It's important to understand that our job is primarily about increasing awareness on the factors that contribute to, is there a country called South Africa? Does it exist? What does it have to offer? And what is the basket of offerings that should trigger action towards investing in what we have to offer? You could have a great offering in the world, but if no one knows you even exist, you've already lost. As Steve Jobs once said, people don't know what they want until you are able to show it to them. Therefore, our processes begin with assessing what coverage is across the world, including the continent, because it's important that people must understand what is being said about you to be able to understand what is being said about you, where and why. Which is why then coverage becomes important, because you are able to structure what to say to who, when, and why. So assessing media coverage is critical before you develop your communication strategy. Slide 4 then will take you through to what is the foundation and objectives that are guiding you to do what you say, when you say it, how you say it, which are built on the following 3 factors. One is then, now that you know what's being said, what do you have to do? You have to rebuild trust and confidence in South Africa. You have to use your history as leverage, that we are known that we are a nation that overcomes the odds. We are resilient. We have a sound economic infrastructure. That helps us appeal to the investor community so that they can look at South Africa and continue to re-looking at it and seeing new opportunities for us, so that despite the fact that we have challenges as a nation, we have opportunities and possibilities. Thirdly, and lastly, is to reassure them that we have the ability to rebuild and restore trust in what we do. Now, what then informs what our call to action is? Then we say, we invite you to believe in South Africa, which is a strategy that we're now driving in the 2022 financial year. So as you move along now, what are the message pillars that inform what you say, how you say it, and where you say it, right? One, you're a great destination for investment. In what areas exactly? It would be the question. So investment and immigration, the business of travel and tourism, exports. As you know, we are very strong in the automobile sector, agriculture, medical expertise, banking sector, and manufacturing, etc. Governance, we are known to have strong constitutions, a strong constitution and institutions accompanied by the rule of law. Fourthly, our people, we're tenacious, we are resilient. We have global icons that showcase that constantly fly the flag, your Esther Matlangos of this world. We have Nobel Prize winners in this country. We have inventors. We have great doctors. And most importantly, we are known for our nature and culture of Ubuntu. Overall, what this then does is that it tells a complete story of who we are, what we are, and what we're about. Importantly, we constantly inspire new and inspiring. We constantly inspire new and different ways. Slide 8 then breaks it down. What are the things you need to do? Now, part of what Chair was mentioning, Mining Indaba, Dubai Expo, what do those platforms do for us? It's not often that you are able to find a situation where all the parties and the relevant participants you are trying to target all over the world are in one place. And this is what these strategic platforms do for us, because you are able to see them, you are able to hear them, you are able to interact with them. It allows you also to be visible and present and connect face to face whenever there's opportunities, which is what, for example, your Mining Indaba is there. So as you walked into the pavilion at Mining Indaba, you see branded South Africa, inspiring new ways. Then these people are able to come to your stall, engage with your partners, get contacts, get to experience South Africa, etc., etc. So strategic platforms are very, very important. So when people ask the question, why are we going to WEF? World Economic Forum is one of those. So as you can see, these are the list of platforms we target. That is then supported by marketing campaigns that are then targeted to domestic audiences, and that also target to international audiences. Now, then we then have the Nation Brand Forum, which is a brands SA-led platform, which engages various levels of stakeholders. Sometimes we'll engage with business and talk about country of origin products. How do we elevate South African produced products in the continent and in the world? All of this is guided and informed by research and analysis, because you've got to know what each country knows and how far the level of awareness is, because if they don't know, you can't say anything. So things will be said that Japan doesn't quite know about South Africa, so what do you need to say? How do you elevate South Africa's visibility so that then you trigger interest and trigger awareness, which then means, oh, someone who's Japanese, I'm going to travel to South Africa. And when they get here, then they see opportunities that are available to them. That's when it triggers the element of when do I then invest. Then lastly, communication and media engagement is critical, because people tend to look at what is being said about the country in their own countries sometimes, and sometimes they'll come here and they look at what the media is saying about South Africa in general. So it's important that you then use those platforms to enhance and drive your messaging to be stronger. And whether we are in a country or not, communication has to continue, because you've got to have share of mind. Otherwise, you are invisible. Next slide. So now, Chair, I won't be going in detail to all these, but from slide 9 to slide 17 is basically the breakdown of all the activities we've planned, starting from April right up to April to March next year. And as you can see, like I said, there's a mixture of strategic platforms, there's a mixture of media partners, there's a mixture of campaigns that we're going to be running, and this is how it's detailed from slide 9 to 17. Now, slide 18 is a reflection of what it looks like, the look and feel. So it's an example of us showing you. Please go through to a slide. Yeah, it's an example of what it looks like. And I couldn't bring all the AVs, but please play this video. There's no sound, but this is what I mean when I say platforms like these then give us an opportunity of having all the role players in one room. And then we are able to put up messaging that reinforces and attracts people to more and more potential investors to come and attend what we see. So we then package this content and we then use it through our media partners. We use it when we engage with people so they can see some of the work that we do visually, and they get to experience and they see what other people are doing and how they can then decide how to take part in this investment drive in support of the president, as mentioned earlier. Okay, thank you. And then the last one, and the last slide is one of those the next one, next slide, thank you. Is an example of a business delegation from Sweden that came to visit South Africa that we then hosted in the country. It's a short video, so it won't take long. Can you put the sound on? So these are just some of the activities that we participate in as we promote the Presidential Investment Drive. Some we lead, some we collaborate, but some we then take opportunity of strategic platforms that we create and make sure that the message of South Africa lives, is visible, and becomes top of mind. That would be the end of my presentation, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sister. Yeah, there we are.
Thank you, honorable members. Can I invite you to raise your hands? Okay, I see Honorable Ntuli, Honorable McClure, Honorable Gondwe, Honorable Maneli, Honorable Kibi, Honorable Mbele, and then Honorable Komani has sent some of her questions to me because she has connectivity problems. So I will raise them on her behalf. And then I also see Honorable Mkweba in that order. Come in, Honorable Ntuli.
Thank you, Chair. I have also IT problems. If you may recall, I even logged in late. I was struggling. Can I switch off my video, if you don't mind?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Greetings to the meeting. Thank you, Chairperson. And all protocol is observed. We welcome the presentation as the Portfolio Committee as presented by the department and the entity. Chairperson, one would love to touch on the Presidential Hotline. You see, Chair, in the meeting, Presidential Hotline is very crucial. But to me, I think here, somehow, somewhere, things didn't go right. And one is really amazed as to how can we fail the president in this regard. The president is sort of giving people of South Africa the platform to communicate directly with him. Now, I'll start asking whether the department did bother itself to find exactly the root causes that led to people not utilizing this hotline as it was expected. Because this hotline is very important. If you are reporting from the grassroots, you know that you are reporting this issue to somebody who's not connected with anyone here. Because people would love to communicate direct with the president because these people have got connections. You report the matter here and it's not taken serious. If I may cite an example, when people have got no water and for days, and you'll find that these tankers, the drivers of these tankers will stop in the middle of nowhere, open these big pipes, throwing water away, and yet they are claiming from the municipality. Do you think those people can go and report this person to that municipality? It's very rare because they know that, hey, this person is connected here. He has got connection. But if you report to the president is going to follow this up. One other thing, we understand that young people are glued to social media. Does the presidential hotline consist of other means of social media? Hence young people explore social media, all social media platforms, and are very user-friendly to them. And those are the people that are also IT experts. Your Kauleza and your USSD. Now, I can see you are coming up with very good things, but the as to how are these going to be accessed, I'm a bit puzzled. If you go to if I may make as Empendle, le komaqhakaze mafam ofasimba, Now, but you go to the bank. You see, you go to the bank. You want to relate something with the home loan. There is no one sitting in the bank for you for the home loan, but there is a line there. They just switch on and you communicate with them. This thing for the presidential hotline is massive. It would have even created some jobs. You would have, as the department, tried maybe to open lines in the community halls, to song centers, etc., and put some lines there, and have a security to look after, and people will queue there, and really, as the department, you failed the president. You must go and Olisa, president. You failed the president. This thing, abantu bayayifuna, abantu bayayikhalela, but how are they going to access it? In terms of submissions, I DM, starting with the DM, I DM I heard the DM talking about the filling of the DM positions. You see DM in the meeting, you see here, it seems as if we are siyamasajana. And the department comes with big English to say over years. It can't be over years. Departments without DGs, it can't be. Now, and what did you do as the department? What measures did you put down? Because if you are going to engage, as the DM was saying, we've been engaging now and again. If you are engaging on your own and you don't have something that is strictly speaking to somebody's head, to be at